What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This week we're back on our Godzilla swap Continental. Last week you saw Dave make our trick custom headers, and we ain't stopping there. For our exhaust, we got something super wild. We got a full vibrant exhaust going on this thing, and it's not just gonna be a straight shot from our headers. We got something really cool, something really creative going on. So first step is we're gonna have to pop that trunk, get out a grinder, and get to cutting. Is taking our mock-up piece with our two pie cuts and our round to oval transition, and we're going to be tacking on our vibrant V-band. This was the one that we used for both sides. As you see, kind of just gets us nice and parallel with the bottom of the car. So we're going to go ahead and make up the other one for this side, and we're going to be tacking together our V-bands, and then we're gonna start mapping out our run. We're gonna be transitioning from our 3-inch round to an oval, just to kind of save a little ground clearance. And then we're gonna be just running this puppy straight down the car. We may be cutting out some of this material in here, and then we're gonna be coming up over here, around the gas tank, up and over the rear end, and then we have all this space to do some magic. This is gonna be magical, trust me. Get ready, because this is gonna be a good one.
Got a V-band on the end of this one tacked on, and then it transitions over to some pie cuts, goes to our circular tubing, transition into our oval tubing that's running straight back. So it's gonna end up over here, and I have a little spacer, and that way when we're building this, we know that we have a gap between the lowest point in the body and the end of the exhaust pipe, but keeping our clearance as high as possible. We don't want it dragging on the ground. And what I need to do is, with the oval in the center here, you could see that we are not completely lined up. So I'm gonna start to make some pie cut adjustments, play around with these. We need to come up and over as well in a pretty tight transition. So let's start taking this apart, all these pie cuts, and then we can start playing around, see if we could make this happen. Okay, I got my first transition all taped up. So you can see it does a jog over this way to get into the center of our channel, and then it starts to go up and then back to straight. So next step, I'm gonna start taking off each piece of tape, doing little tacks to our tubular piece that transitions into the oval. Once that's all set, then this section is all ready to go. We can start building off the back. Got everything tacked in, it's looking really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and start doing as much final welding as I can while it's in this position. That way that we don't have to worry when we're doing all the rest of the final welding that there's gonna be spots that twist this thing on the bench and then it won't fit anymore. So I also got my back purge set up. See this line I'm running here to the back of our tube. So that way we can backfill with argon while we're welding all of these joints. Makes for a much cleaner weld on the inside. Now that that's set up, we are ready to go. All right, so while I'm waiting for this pipe to cool off, I'm gonna start mocking up our other end. And we'll start right here at header, weld our V-band onto the end, and then we'll start building out from there. Got our two pipes back in, connected at our V-bands, the headers to the transition. Same thing over here. Now they're running all the way down the car. We put a ratchet strap through the body so that way they're held up tight, and then put our spacers back in so this will simulate when they're actually hung, the gap between the body and the pipe. Now we're gonna have to start the transition. Mikey's got some 45 oval tube, and make it a little shorter, but yeah, that could definitely work for us. We need to get up and over our diff and then out the sides of our fuel tank. That's what we're gonna work on next.
We got our horizontal 45, then we're going vertical 45, we're coming up. We got a couple of vertical pie cuts and then a horizontal, and then a transition from oval to round. And then we got a couple round pie cuts coming up over our rear end, and also missing this link bar here. So at this point, we're gonna do a couple more pie cuts on this side right here. And then we're gonna be adding a V-band clamp somewhere in this area right here. That way we could take this off, and all of our trunk stuff will be separate from this lower section. So Dave's gonna take this back over to the bench, get tacks on all this area where we have our tape.
All right, now that we got our oval pipes test fit, we can pull them out, final weld them, and then put them back in so we can start planning out the routing into the trunk area. Got our first run of the exhaust installed. You can see it popping in there, popping in here, and there's going to be some paneling in here. So what we're going to do is use slip fit fittings at this joint right here. That way you can slip the exhaust out to the other side if you want to separate what's going to be in the trunk area from what's under the car. So I have these pieces here with a couple of pie cuts. Mikey welded up, and timing marks that I have marked over here. That brings us with a nice even gap and parallel to the tank and the frame. have both of our slip fit pieces on the ends of our pipe running from the front. We could start planning out where the muffler is going to go. We're going to try and make the outlet about even with this seam in the bumper because our exhaust is going to partially come out above and below. So right now it's sitting a little bit high. So I think I'm going to do some measuring off of here and then make a metal, just tack in a temporary brace running across like a platform that I could set this onto. Let's measure where center is up and down. So we got our muffler centered and squared up. This is half of our X pipe. We're gonna have it so this end has a U and goes into this side of the muffler. We'll sit roughly like this, and then we're gonna chop back here where the marks are, and our sleeve fitting will come around and do a 90 into here where the X pipe is. I'm gonna go ahead and take off this extra bend that we don't need, and then once that's done, I'm gonna cut the X pipe, weld the X pipe together, and then we could make some standoffs and see exactly where that's gonna go. Once it's in place, then we can start doing all of our connections. Come in here, and then go out, back around. I got my vertical bandsaw set up here to cut meat out of our X. I'm using about 1/3. Those 3-inch pipes, so I have about a 1-inch cut in. Now all we have to do is keep this square as we're pushing. Okay, we got our X pipe all cut, put together. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack on this side, tack on the other side, and then once we got a few tacks in there, I could go ahead and run our bead all the way around. Okay, we got our X pipe in here. It's mocked up, centered on top of the muffler. Using a block of wood to give it some space in between. Kind of visualize better. This pipe's gonna connect to here, and let's do a 180. I have this little piece that was tacked up already. That's like half of a 180. So what I'm gonna do is tack a whole nother set just like this, tack them to each other, have a full 180, put them here, and then that'll dictate the distance between our muffler and our X pipe. Once we get that, we could tack these all together on each side, and that'll fix our X pipe in position, and then we can start drawing the line between our front piece of the exhaust and the X pipe. So I got my first straight piece mounted to my V-band, and my V-band tacked to my pie cuts that make our 180. So if we place this over the muffler, then you can see we're nice and line with our X pipe. Now all we have to do is make a straight piece to connect these two, and we can do the same thing on the opposite side as well. Okay, we got our whole assembly tacked up here, V-bands, so we could disconnect these pipes from the muffler side and be able to take out our X pipe. Now that this is together, I'm gonna start to weld these while it's all attached, so that way when things start to come together and shrink, it's all gonna be held in place in the position that I want it in the end.
here is our muffler, our vibrant muffler, a bunch of pie cuts, an X pipe, and this is going to be sitting in the trunk of our Continental. To start off, this is very unconventional, and it's been kind of hard for us to wrap our heads around it. So we've already had it mocked up in there, and now we're getting ready to set some angle here, welded onto our frame on both sides, which is going to kind of have a multi-purpose. So instead of, you know, traditional muffler is going to mount and hang off of the frame with some isolators, we're actually going to use a transmission mount, and we're going to be welding some kind of bracket onto our X pipe that's going to come down and mount onto this, which is also going to be bolted onto an angle that's going to be sitting back here. So instead of it hanging, it's going to be sitting on it. That will support the weight of our muffler and all our pipes. Now we're also going to be doing a back exit here. So Dave's already cut the back of the body out. So we're going to have a 1 3-inch going into 2 3-inch tips that are going to be sticking out of our bumper. So there's a lot of different things going on. And then we also got to come out the backside of our X pipe and transition into our 2 3-inch exhausts. So we're going to start by getting our muffler system sat on our angles, and then we'll probably go ahead and start working on this side and then making our transition. We think that we're probably going to be sitting a little higher than our pipes, so we might have to come not only turn a 90 but also go down. That's where we're at. Let's get some stuff done. All right, now we got our muffler system sitting where we want it. So at this point, Dave is gonna go over to the plasma table and cut out 3/16 steel and make a little bracket here that's gonna mount onto our transmission isolator. And meanwhile, I'll get this thing drilled out and bolted onto our steel angle down below.
Okay, I got my little truss here. Like, we went ahead and installed our rubber isolator mount. I'm gonna go this way. I'm gonna go ahead and sort of soft mount this in, and then once it's in, I could bring over a muffler assembly and test fit it to this edge to catch our muffler assembly. Once that's done, I could bring it back to the bench and weld this truss onto the muffler, and then we can install it for good. In, and look at this angle, you can see how our truss system catches the bottom of our pipes at this pretty much the center of the X. Looks pretty nice, I think. One thing, I got a block of wood right here, and even if I take out this block of wood, it wants to take a dive because of the weight of the muffler. So we're gonna definitely need some other sort of support in here. I don't think that this one bracket is gonna be quite enough to handle the whole thing. So that's okay, because we're going to be coming out here, so we might make another hanger coming off our pipe in this direction. But for now, this works great. Everything fits really nice. So let's move on to the next part. So we got our pie cuts situated, and I got my straight piece that's going to get welded to the end of our slip fitting situated. And as you can see, it is lining up pretty good right here. So I think the next step in this, I'll probably take this to the bench and remove the tape one by one and do a bunch of tacks. Once it's tacked together, I'll bring the piece back, retest fit it. We'll do a bunch of tacks over here in place. That way, when we do final welding and bring it back, we're gonna ensure that everything's gonna fit together nice. got our full back tacked in place. We are now up to the point of the outlet of our muffler, and that means we're going to be making our exhaust taps that are coming through back here. That brings us to this, which will take our 3-inch outlet of the muffler, combine it into two 3-inch, or uncombine it into two 3-inch pipes, but we want them not tight together, but a little bit further out. So we're gonna add some pie cuts in. We put them like this and like this. We'll go back to being straight, but we'll have a nice looking gap between them as they exit out the rear bumper. So first things first, I'm gonna chop this off here. You can see this is like an expanded slip joint, and then weld these guys onto the ends where we make the cut. So here we are at the end of a muffler. Here's our tailpiece, just taped together for now. And if I can do this, we're gonna put a V-band right here. This is actually a slip fit, so we'll have a short piece of straight to recess inside here. And then we'll have to come through here and use some short pieces of straight at the end of this to get our exact length out. Also, we're gonna be cutting out a box in this and making kind of a recessed box, maybe some mesh behind it. So let's start with welding up the V-band, then we can weld that to the muffler. We'll tack all these together and weld them, and then we'll be set to try and figure out our dimensions on this side. Already sort of sticking out here with our piece already set into our muffler. So in order to be able to get actual tips ends, I was hoping to weld these bigger ones on like this. What I'm gonna try and do is cut some of this straight out. That way the whole piece comes back towards the muffler. That way I have some more room to do a transition piece instead of just ending with a pie cut. Okay, we got our tips and our flange for our bumper stick out all mounted in here with some button head hardware. That goes to this tip collector, goes into our muffler, into the X pipe, and then transitions into our two runners underneath the vehicle. So that's it for the exhaust. But next time we're gonna be jumping either into the interior or to that reverse trunk lid or the sheet metal back in the trunk. But you'll have to like and subscribe to find out what we're doing next on the '65 Lincoln Continental.